One day in 1965, while driving to Acapulco for a vacation with his family, Colombian journalist Gabriel Garcia Marquez abruptly turned his car around, asked his wife to take care of the family's finances for the coming months, and returned home. The beginning of a new book had suddenly come to him. Many years later, as he faced the firing squad, Colonel Aureliano Buendia was to remember that distant afternoon when his father took him to discover ice. Over the next 18 months, those words would blossom into 100 Years of Solitude, a novel that would go on to bring Latin American literature to the forefront of the global imagination, earning Garcia Marquez the 1982 Nobel Prize for Literature. What makes 100 Years of Solitude so remarkable? The novel chronicles the fortunes and misfortunes of the Buendia family over 7 generations. With its lush, detailed sentences, large cast of characters, and tangled narrative, 100 Years of Solitude is not an easy book to read, but it's a deeply rewarding one, with an epic assortment of intense romances, civil war, political intrigue, globe-trotting adventurers, and more characters named Aureliano than you'd think possible. Yet this is no mere historical drama. 100 Years of Solitude is one of the most famous examples of a literary genre known as magical realism. Here, supernatural events or abilities are described in a realistic and matter-of-fact tone, while the real events of human life and history reveal themselves to be full of fantastical absurdity. Surreal phenomena within the fictional village of Macondo intertwine seamlessly with events taking place in the real country of Colombia. The settlement begins in a mythical state of isolation, but is gradually exposed to the outside world, facing multiple calamities along the way. As years pass, characters grow old and die, only to return as ghosts, or to be seemingly reincarnated in the next generation. When the American Fruit Company comes to town, so does a romantic mechanic who is always followed by yellow butterflies. A young woman up and floats away. Although the novel moves forward through subsequent generations, time moves in an almost cyclical manner. Many characters have similar names and features to their forebears, whose mistakes they often repeat. Strange prophecies and visits from mysterious gypsies give way to the skirmishes and firing squads of repeated civil wars. An American fruit company opens a plantation near the village and ends up massacring thousands of striking workers, mirroring the real-life banana massacre of 1928. Combined with the novel's magical realism, this produces a sense of history as a downward spiral the characters seem powerless to escape. Beneath the magic is a story about the pattern of Colombian and Latin American history from colonial times onward. This is a history that the author experienced firsthand. Gabriel Garcia Marquez grew up in a Colombia torn apart by civil conflict between its conservative and liberal political parties. He also lived in an autocratic Mexico and covered the 1958 Venezuelan coup d'etat as a journalist. But perhaps his biggest influences were his maternal grandparents. Nicolás Ricardo Marquez was a decorated veteran of the Thousand Days War, whose accounts of the rebellion against Colombia's conservative government led Gabriel Garcia Marquez to a socialist outlook. Meanwhile, Doña Tranquilina Iguarán Cortez's omnipresent superstition became the foundation of 100 Years of Solitude's style. Their small house in Aracataca, where the author spent his childhood, formed the main inspiration for Macondo. With 100 Years of Solitude, Gabriel Garcia Marquez found a unique way to capture the unique history of Latin America. He was able to depict the strange reality of living in a post-colonial society, forced to relive the tragedies of the past. In spite of all this fatalism, the novel still holds hope. At his Nobel lecture, Garcia Marquez reflected on Latin America's long history of civil strife and rampant iniquity. Yet he ended the speech by affirming the possibility of building a better world, to quote, where no one will be able to decide for others how they die. where love will prove true and happiness be possible, and where the races condemned to 100 years of solitude will have, at last and forever, a second chance on Earth.